Okay, everybody. Um, wanted to give you a quick update on round three. So we'll be finishing round four this week, but wanted to show you kind of where we're at from a round three perspective and maybe point out a few things that I'm noticing as we're going along. So a couple teams didn't do any research and design this last round, which is fine as long as you're staying competitive and you have a good competitive product. And same with your production. Some of you guys have a little bit lower production costs than others. So these are just a few things to kind of watch out for. But overall, from a sales revenue perspective, Trevin, Orange Crush, Holly doing really great. From an overall revenue perspective. And then we've got a group like kind of together with Chelsea and John and Sean. And then a couple just struggling a little bit at the end, so we'll take a look at what's happening here. And certainly still staying in the green for the most part, except for Jordan on spending and a little bit of John too. So we're starting to hit that profit area where we're starting to make some money, and you can see like Chelsea didn't make as much as Trevin did as an example, but her profit is almost the same. So and certainly the same as Orange Crush. So that's the difference between what we're spending versus what we're making, and I think that's always important to kind of keep track of as well. Also, be careful for the short-term loans. So a couple of you had short-term loans here, so watch out for that. And you don't want to pay off your long-term loan and still get a short-term loan. Short-term loans need to be paid back quickly. So my recommendation for these two specifically here, these are, and actually John as well, is to take out a larger long-term loan and pay off some of that short-term. You need to fix those issues. That's just too much in short-term loans. Think of it as like a payday loan, not something that you want to get if you don't have to. So take out that long-term loan. Don't pay off the long-term loan to put yourself in a financial situation that will not be worth it for you. So looking at overall market share, Orange Crush at 22%, probably holding the greatest with Tech 1 and Tech 2. Doesn't look like anyone in this group has gone for Tech 3 or Tech 4 yet. So everybody's kind of sticking with 1 and 2 as different technologies and trying to break into that market. Taking a look at product prices, Caitlin, I would say that your price, especially in the US, is way too high for Tech 1. Remember, it's US dollars, and we need to keep it within an area for selling. Same with Jordan, way too much here as well. So watch your prices. Make sure that you don't have any of the transfer pricing in place that will skew your cost numbers, and really look at your cost numbers and see how you can make some money without charging too high of prices. So Tech 1 and Tech 2 here, Caitlin, definitely a big deal. Caitlin, I would also be selling Tech 2 in Asia and Europe, and you're not right now. So make sure you set prices and establish that and put that into place, okay? You can take a look too in the US for the number of features that you have versus other areas. So making sure that your features are competitive and making sure that they're staying the same across areas. And I can see Caitlin as an example. In the US, you have 4 features, and in Asia, you have 2. Make sure you update those on every one. So make sure that your features, when you go into that market pricing page into each country, that you're updating your features so that they're the most current scope of features. Sean, you did not have enough capacity. So when you're short of capacity here, Orange Crush got short in Asia as well. You might want to look at your prices. One, potentially your sales price might be a little bit lower than you want it to be. So $1,700 as an example here, $1,650 for Orange Crush. Nice low numbers, but watch your profitability. So if you look at your profitability, Orange Crush was very similar to Chelsea's. She sold quite a few less, but charged a little bit more. You don't want to go too low on your prices, because if you don't have the capacity, you're going to start running out of product, and that's going to be a problem. Less of an issue, Orange Crush, I think, for Tech 2, I think you're kind of right in the middle there, but you can see Sean had that same issue with Tech 2, way too low. Your price for Tech 2, Sean, should be higher than your price for Tech 1. It's cheaper for you to make Tech 1 than it is Tech 2. So be realistic with how you're pricing and make sure that you're setting your prices accordingly. And for the others, don't, if you see somebody who's not making a lot of profit, so I'll just kind of go back as an example here. Sean had negative profit even though he had 1,400. Chelsea had 1,300 but had 507,000 in profit. You need to be able to price and sell things accordingly, and even Orange Crush, to make sure that your profit level is staying where it needs to stay at. So don't go too low in your price because you'll end up sacrificing some of that profitability at the end. It's definitely a balance. All right, so looking at social responsibility, a few people focusing a little bit more on social responsibility than others. Certainly that is going to make your product sell a little bit better if you're looking at some of the top suppliers and kind of picking and choosing who you do business with. I think it's important that if somebody's not ethical, that you're probably not using them. Customers will eventually find that out, and it can detract them from purchasing your product. From a capacity utilization perspective, a lot of people doing really well. Sean, I think, must have been managing a little bit of his inventory by maybe not producing as much, but you ran out of product, Sean, so make sure that you produce your full amount. I think that's important. Jordan, I think, playing the game a little bit, trying to get rid of some of the inventory. This is way too high for inventory for Caitlin, John, and Jordan. You need to make some adjustments, not produce as much for a round or two to get rid of some of that inventory. It's a lot of inventory. Do not purchase any more plants. Jordan, John, this is plenty, maybe too many. And Jordan, I would just stick right here too, and let's just start selling a little bit more and get those prices back in line. So that's kind of what I would look to do in that area. All right, let's take a look at Universe 2. I'm going to take a look at the financial statements for this group. Looking at this group, there's a couple in the middle here, Chris and Garrett, a little bit higher. Kelly sneaking in there too, just behind them, with sales revenue. Profitability, though, a little bit lower here on this end with Ashley and Courtney. So spending a little bit more on research and design, but that's eating away a little bit at your profit. So definitely watch that. But good profit levels here for Garrett and Charles. You can see the difference in profitability here with what they made versus the group in the first universe. So definitely makes a difference. So even for those that aren't maybe selling quite as much, profit levels are definitely still there. Okay, and Navy is just kind of along for the ride. Again, Garrett, do not pay off your loans and then take a short-term loan. So for you guys with short-term loans here, take out a little bit more of a long-term debt, sell some stocks if you can. I don't know if they'll be worth anything, but try to, yeah, when you have penny stocks, you're not going to be able to sell it. But Garrett, you can definitely sell some stocks to get some more revenue and pay off that short-term debt. That short-term debt is problematic, so make sure you do not keep that for too long. Overall global market share, taking a look at this, Charlie, 19%, Garrett 14%, Kelly 15%. So sharing definitely some of that market share. Again, nobody venturing into Tech 3 or Tech 4 yet, so that's interesting. Everybody's sticking with Tech 1 and Tech 2, very comparable from an overall perspective. Again, with social responsibility, some of you focusing a little bit more on picking better suppliers and vendors that will have an impact on your sales eventually, so something to consider. Kelly, too high here, maybe too low here. Let's balance that cost out. Let's look at how you're pricing, what your total cost is in the market tab, and make some pretty good decisions on how you're doing that. Garrett, also too high for Tech 1 in the US. Courtney, too high for Tech 1 in the US. Your Tech 2 should always be a little bit higher than your Tech 1, but not $500 higher. That's like a huge jump. More like this looks better. Charlie, I'm thinking your Tech 2 would even be more. I guess it depends on your features, though. And then Jocelyn pulling this down a little bit, keeping up with where you're at, and then just trying to look because it's a little skewed. Courtney maybe a little bit high for Tech 1, so watch that. Garrett high for Tech 2. This is definitely just wrong. And then in Europe, your Tech 1 prices should be a little bit lower than the 400, 500, 400. So those need to come down a little bit, as well as your Tech 2 at 500. Courtney, that's just too high. So take a look at those prices for sure and make sure that you're not pricing it in a negative way for you. So looking at overall features, everyone for Tech 1 is in the 4.234 range. And then between 1 and 4 for Tech 2. Just going to flip to Europe here. Jocelyn ran out, or no, Jocelyn just didn't have any, she had demand, but yeah, definitely ran out there. Charlie ran out here with Tech 2 a little bit Garrett, Tech 1. So kind of balance that out a little bit. Take a look at these results and really help that drive your decision making. You've got lots of data here to make some pretty significant changes. Okay. Again, social responsibility, taking a look at this. You know, if you have folks that are not in a great place for, you know, that like these two are really 3 and 2 are really good from a price perspective, but their ethics aren't real high. The difference in price between this one and these is not very much. So it's just something to consider as you're making those decisions. Capacity utilization, Courtney, you get a huge problem here. So cut back on your production. Definitely don't be using any outsourcing and get rid of that. 20,000 units is a lot because I think it's thousands of units, so you probably have 20 million extra units. Inventory costs you a lot of money. You don't want to hang on to it for too long. That can be an issue. And then again, this isn't, and I think I've said this before in past videos, 6 and 4 is not contract manufacturing units. 6,000 units isn't helping you, so just remove that. 10 units is not helping you, Madeline. These are, you should be doing 500, 600, 700 units if you're going to be outsourcing. And yeah, so I wouldn't even mess around with little bits like that. It's not necessary to be that accurate. Your forecast isn't accurate anyway, so just get as close as you can. So this is looking at average component cost per product sold. And you can tell that like this is how much it costs per product sold on average, but your prices all fluctuate like ridiculously. So make sure that you're looking at your costs and also your production costs to make sure that your prices are reflective. You can see like Courtney's production costs in outsourcing specifically are more expensive. So those orange and yellow bars are outsourcing, and so that's increasing your production costs and may artificially increase your overall cost to your customer. So watch those things and you guys should be good. Have a great week.